Hello, everyone. It's my great pleasure to welcome in one of the great Steelers of all time, one of the greatest Steeler linebackers of all time, a Steeler captain, and an inductee into the Steelers Hall of Honor. The great James Farrior joins us now. James, how are you? Thanks for being with us.
I'm doing well, Stan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Let's go back. Let's go back, way back, almost, I hate to date you or myself, nearly a quarter century ago. A lot of players, they get nervous about getting drafted and maybe they're day two or maybe they're day three. Whatever suspense there was for you in 1997 was over rather quickly when the Jets took you with the eighth overall pick.
Yes, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was in the war room with the rest of the players that were supposed to be selected in the first top of the first round, and the waiting game it didn't last long. It was probably a wait. I waited for about 30 minutes, and if you've ever watched the draft and you see that first round, guys can wait in there for hours and hours, and it could take all day, and it's a very frustrating experience. But for me, it was exciting. It was over in 30 minutes, and the rest is history.
Yeah, some guys, the poor guys, they put the cameras on those poor guys, and you certainly
Yeah.
feel for them. Being a guy from a smaller town in Virginia, how'd you feel about going to New York?
Oh, I was so excited about it, and I really didn't know what to expect. I knew it was a big city. I'd never been to New York before, and it was one of those things where I was looking forward to it, and hoping everything was going to work out great for me.
Your 4 years in New York, you certainly didn't enjoy the success there individually or team wise as you ended up having in Pittsburgh. And I've always wondered, James, was part of the issue they had you as an outside linebacker, and yet when Kevin Colbert signed you, they moved you not immediately, but initially after that inside. Was that a whole new world for you when you played inside versus outside linebacker?
Yeah, I think that affected my play a little bit, and I'm not going to say that's the only thing, but I felt like for me to play the best that I could play, I needed to be off the ball and reading instead of always just instant reaction and instant, being on that line of scrimmage. You have action right away, and I was a player that tried to, think a little bit more and want to see and react to things a little with a little bit more time.
What was it as a free agent? You had other opportunities and options. What was it about the Steelers that made you decide to sign with them? They were coming off an AFC Championship game, unfortunately, a loss to the Patriots. Was it the winning tradition or just the opportunity to play and perhaps move inside in a 3-4?
It was actually the only opportunity that I had. Coach Cowher, they extended an offer to me, and that was pretty much the only thing that I had going for me at the time. And my agent, Ralph Sendrich, he was leaning towards me signing with Pittsburgh, and he had a lot of good things to say about the Rooney family. And one thing that he told me that stuck out with me, he said that this is loyal owners, and if you do well by them, they will treat you right. And everything he said came true.
Well, Ralph was a Pittsburgh guy. He would know all about that. Certainly understand the connection. What was it playing for Bill Cowher? He had been around about 10 years by the time you came on board. Would you classify him as a player's coach? How would you describe playing for a Hall of Fame coach, Bill Cowher?
He was a great coach. He definitely sided toward the players. I never really heard him. One thing that I liked about him, he yelled at the coaches when the players did something wrong. So, yeah, that was my favorite part about Coach Cowher. He would be so upset if anybody did something wrong. He wouldn't really yell at the players, but he would get on the coaches. And that's one of the things that stood out to me about Coach Cowher. But, I mean, what a great coach and what a great career he had. And he had a lot of good players behind him.
Well, that whole Pittsburgh thing continues on. I might as well ask you while we have a chance to talk about a parallel. You won and played for Super Bowls with two different coaches. Can you compare and contrast Bill Cowher with Mike Tomlin?
They're a lot more similar than they are different. Coach Tomlin has a similar style of coaching, although he does yell at players more than he does the coaches. But yeah, I would say that, they both are centered around just having an atmosphere where the players feel comfortable. And that's one of the great things about both of those coaches that I like.
Well, the first couple of years you were here, James, weren't great years for the Steelers. Made the playoffs the one year and beat Cleveland. You lose the AFC Championship game to the Patriots. And I'm wondering, when you did win the Super Bowl in 2005, was the loss to the Patriots in 04 a motivating factor in winning the Super Bowl in 05?
I don't know so much if it was motivation, but we always want to win a championship, and that's the Steelers. I mean, that's what we're trying to do every season. So, I mean, coming up short the year before, we got so close, and we felt like we had a great opportunity to reach the Super Bowl, and we didn't. It was more just a frustrating feeling that we didn't finish the deal.
It's often been said that teams have to learn how to win as a group, and I'm wondering if that was a factor. You had the experience in 04 and that unbelievable season. You're 15-1. You'd beaten the Patriots earlier, one of the great games ever played at Heinz Field. And I'm wondering if that didn't help galvanize you, although it should also be mentioned, of course, that in 05, you were sitting there at 7-5 and just a long shot to make the playoffs.
I think one of the things you said winning helped us out. I think losing together helped us out more than winning together. I think what we went through when we lost that championship game, it was really hard for us to swallow, and it was very frustrating. I think that really bonded us together even more.
Take us inside the locker room. You're sitting there at 7-5, and you're probably going to have to go on a 4-game run. There was that memorable game where against the Bears where Jerome ran over Brian Urlacher. People still get excited seeing that. Where were you at 7-5, a team that was expected to win, but here you are on the outside looking in?
We tried to stay laser focused and just tried to hone in on what we needed to do and take it one game at a time. Our backs were against the wall, and any game that we lost would put us out of the playoffs. So our playoffs, Coach Cowher, I think he mentioned that our playoffs were starting the next week. And if we wanted to make it to the real playoffs, then we had to win one game every week. And, I think we took that one game approach at a time.
Do you think that actually being in playoff mode actually helped you once you did get into the playoffs, beating Cincinnati and then the memorable game against the Colts and certainly against Denver? I mean, do you feel being in that playoff mentality help you once you actually got into the playoffs?
No doubt about it. I think that helped us out tremendously. I think that carried us, all the way to the championship. We were in playoff mode from week 13 on through, and when we got to the playoff games, it was like, yeah, we're ready to roll, and we were hitting on all cylinders, and everything was going how we needed it to go for us to win the championship.
I have to ask you about that Indianapolis game. You had 2.5 sacks. You guys were all over Peyton Manning. You took the lead, and then, of course, Jerome's fumble, Ben's miracle tackle, the missed field goal. Is that as big emotional roller coaster inside one game as you've ever felt?
No doubt about it. Yeah, we were celebrating after we got I think it was a 4th down stop on the goal line, and we got the ball on the goal line. So as we were walking off the field, waving bye to the fans and, cheering ourselves on, and we thought the game was over. There's only a minute left. We got the bus in the backfield. So, this thing is over. And as we were taunting the fans, we just started hearing cheering, just a loud cheer. And we all turned around and saw Harper running with the ball. And we were like, oh, no, what's going to happen? And Ben made probably one of the greatest plays in Steelers history. I have to say that. And I mean, I know we had a lot of great players and a lot of great plays, but that was probably up there with one of the best. And after he made that play, I got the defense together. The defense ran out on the field, and I was standing in front of Coach LeBeau, and he was still in the shock. He was still in a little bit of shock, and I was like, Coach LeBeau, come on, let's go. It's time to get the call so we can go win this game. And he snapped out of it and called some great calls, and we ended up they ended up missing the field goal.
Well, Ben's one and only tackle ended up being a really big one. Should have made him an honorary member of the defense with that one, because that guy might have gone all the way. What a game that would have been. The Super Bowl in Detroit. Just take us through you guys organizing, unbeknownst to Jerome, having him run out on the field at Ford Field all alone.
I think that was Joey Porter's idea. He was our William Wallace. I always call it. I like to say, and he definitely came up with the idea of having Jerome. Well, first he came up with the idea of getting Jerome Bettis Notre Dame jerseys for all the team, so we could wear that on our trip to Detroit. And I think before we got there, he had mentioned something about having Jerome go out in front before everybody, being his hometown, probably being his last game. So we wanted to make it real special for Jerome, and he's one of the big reasons why we were there.
Made him forget that fumble. I'm quite sure.
Oh yeah,
he will be
we forgot all about it.
He'll remember much more than that. The other thing that I remember about that is I was there all week, as you were. You guys were in Pontiac practicing, but Steeler Nation just overwhelmed the city of Detroit, and it was like a home game. Typical Steeler Nation behavior, right?
Oh, for sure. Anytime you can get a game where the fans can drive to the game, then you're going to get a big turnout. And Pittsburgh wasn't that far from Detroit, and a lot of people came out, and we were very happy to see that the crowd was definitely tipping the scales for Pittsburgh.
Undoubtedly. I know the ultimate goal for any athlete is to win a championship. And maybe this is an obvious question, James, but was that the highlight of your career, winning that first Super Bowl, or was there something else maybe along the way that was more meaningful to you as a Steeler?
Definitely the championships. I mean, that's what we play the game for, and we all try to do our best and get play as best as we can, but the team goal is always going to be winning the championship, and that's the crowning moment of my whole career, both of those championships.
Well, let's go to the second one. Can you compare and contrast? Was one more meaningful to you than the other?
I think the first one, just because it was the first one and it's the first time going through that experience, I think that was probably more special than the second one. The second one, we kind of knew what we were going to be dealing with. We knew how to prepare, and it felt like we were veterans going into that second one.
Well, certainly one of the most exciting Super Bowls ever was Santonio Holmes' winning catch. But before that, I have to ask you, and I've asked guys who were on the field during the Immaculate Reception, where were you and what were you doing when James Harrison picked off that pass in the end zone?
I was behind James Harrison in the end zone when he caught the ball. And when he caught it and started running, the whole team just started running, and everybody was trying to pick up a block. And from my vantage point, I was in front of Anquan Bolden, so I was just trying to block him out of the way and slow him down because I knew he was fast and he might could catch him. And I remember him pulling me by my neck brace and pulling me down, and I was really mad about that. I still haven't forgiven him for that, but it's okay.
Arguably the greatest play in Super Bowl history, and he had to score because the clock had expired. Otherwise,
and that's
he steps out of bounds. It's nothing.
That's what I was thinking about the whole time. I was like, he needs to get out of bounds. If we only have a few seconds left, we need to try to get kick a field goal, and that's all I was thinking about at first. But then when the time ran out, I was like, oh man, he's got to score now. Like this, all of that for nothing, and we can't let that happen. And he made one hell of a play, and the rest of the guys that were there blocking for him, they also contributed. And like you said, it was one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history.
I've looked at that tape, and it seemed like every other member of the defense, all 10 of you, in addition to James, got a block on somebody. I remember Ike running down. I mean, everybody, Troy,
Oh, yeah.
everybody got involved. And that '08 defense was special. A lot of people began to compare it to the Steel Curtain years of the '70s. Was that '08 defense in particular, James, the best one that you played on as a Steeler?
Yeah, I would say so. That '08 team was really special. The defense was, we were really good that year. And I definitely think that was probably our best team we had.
Well, you talk about the honor of being a champion. One of the things that stuck out to me in 2005, Super Bowl winning team, your teammates voted you the MVP. And I wonder, in all the honors you've gotten, if that one isn't maybe most meaningful because it was voted on by your teammates.
Oh, yeah. Anytime that you get an award that your peers get a chance to vote for, and it's definitely something special. And it's definitely one of the most special moments in my career.
They voted for you not only because of your play, but because of your leadership. And I know that no one sets out and said, okay, I'm going to be a leader now. But you were a quiet guy. Although if you play with Joey Porter, comparatively, everybody's quiet. But you're a quiet guy. You've always been that way. And you exerted leadership. Did you do it consciously? It just come naturally to you?
I think it just comes from just the experience I had. I think my first 5 years with the Jets, it gave me the blueprint of what I looked up to the older guys. So I had guys like Mo Lewis, Brian Cox, Vinny Testaverde, Curtis Martin, Aaron Glenn, those guys like that around me, a very veteran group. And they showed me what leadership was. And I was able to kind of carry some of the lessons that I learned from the Jets and just carried on over to the Steelers. And, by the time I got to the Steelers, I was, more mature as a player. And I understood what the heartbeat of a team needs to be like. And definitely having Joy around helped a lot. He taught me a lot about being a leader. And it's just one of those things that I never really focused on trying to be a leader. It was just something that came out naturally.
Well, it's often been said that teammates form bonds, but especially when you've won championships together. And I wondered if you have been able to maintain a lot of those relationships now that you've been retired for about 10 years.
Oh, yeah. We have a couple of group texts with like 10 to 15 people on each one. And we all definitely try to keep up with each other throughout the year. And we do a couple Zoom calls every now and then to just make sure everybody's doing well. But like you said, it's a special bond when you win a championship with a team, and the players that you bond with is something that carries on for a lifetime.
And I asked that question because I know that you have reached out to some current Pittsburgh Steelers, Black History Month, and you've been involved in programs. I'd like you to explain what exactly your role has been, how you got involved, and what you're accomplishing.
Well, I talked to some players about it's an online banking app. It's called Goal Setter, and it's to help kids get financially learn how to save money, learn how to be financially fiscal, and just something a tool for kids that they can use later on in life to help them be more successful. And I joined up with the Steelers and setting up kids with a savings account in their names and giving them $40 seed money towards that account. And it's just a banking app that teaches kids financial literacy and teaching them how to be better people when they're not only be consumers, but to be investors, owners, entrepreneurs, and have that type of spirit.
Did you organize this yourself, James? Are you one of the pioneers, or is this a National Football League project?
I didn't organize it, and it came from an investment group that I'm a part of. Sorry, I have a visitor.
Get him on that bank app.
Yes. And so the founder of the banking app is Tanya Van Court, and she approached our investment group. Is another visitor. she approached us with the idea of the banking app, and my wife fell in love with it, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was something that could really help kids out, especially our black and brown kids, and it would be an opportunity for them to, learn how to educate themselves, and it's a fun banking app that kids can really get on there and learn in a fun way about financial education.
This almost sounds like this was scripted. You have your kids come in, we're talking about kids.
Yeah.
I know that you've gotten guys like Zach Banner involved and Stephon Tuitt and Will Allen, so you are making a connection with members of the current Steelers team.
Yes, I talked to those guys, Zach and Stephon, and they were on board with it. We had Tanya, she did her pitch with those guys, and they loved it. So I'm excited that they're on board. I'm glad that we're all going to be a part of it. I've also reached out to Max Starks. He's going to be one of our founders. Hold on, kids. We can't play that. I've reached out to Max, and I'm probably going to try to get everybody that I know on the team, from former players to new players, everybody in between, to just try to make this thing as successful as possible.
Now, last thing for you, James, glad we got a chance to see part of your family. You alluded to this very early when we began our discussion about one of the reasons you wanted to come to Pittsburgh. And I've recently read some comments from current Steeler players and former Steeler players with the unfortunate passing of Mrs. Rooney, Dan's wife, Pat. And they all said it really is a family atmosphere with the Steelers. And I wonder if you indeed did feel that, as Ralph Sindrich promised you, not only the Steelers but the city of Pittsburgh, but the Steelers as a family type of organization, including the players, coaches, owners, and even the fans.
No doubt about it. It was definitely a family atmosphere, and it was some very sad news when we got the news that Mrs. Rooney passed away. And I felt probably the same way as I felt when Mr. Rooney passed away. She was one of those people. She was always around. She was always upbeat. We ate dinner with her on Saturdays at the hotels. So, we spent a lot of time around the family, and, I'm sure the players still do spend a lot of time around the family. So it's definitely that type of atmosphere, and it's something that makes this team successful.
And special, as you are, such an integral part of two of the Steelers Super Bowl championship teams, and now a member of the Steelers Hall of Honor. James, can't thank you enough for your time today. It was great catching up with you, great chatting with you, and I'm sure all of our viewers appreciate it, and our listeners as well. Thanks so much.